Live in three, and two, and one. We are live for a new Electrek podcast episode. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by the great Seth Wintraub. How you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, we're gonna do things a little bit different today. We're gonna start with what I've been teasing for the last few episodes of the podcast. Why I was going to Italy this week. I just came back last night. I'm still a little bit dazed from the transport. It was a quick trip, also like coming going, so I didn't get much sleep. But I got to see the technology behind Ferrari's first all-electric vehicle. So that's the elephant in the room here. We didn't actually get to see the car. It was a big event. They brought in a few dozen journalists from all over the world to go check this out. But they said once we were there, they were like, "Surprise! You're not even gonna get to see the car." I got to see it. I saw it on the road for half a second in on public roads, but it's so heavily camouflaged that you don't even know what type. It could be like a crossover, it could be a wagon, it could be a sedan.
Wow.
Uh, we don't even know because they go crazy with their camouflage. Like it's like one of those, the kids they race downhill with those soapbox
Oh yeah, soapbox
car.
derby. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like that. Like we're just much bigger.
Jeez.
um, but yeah, so the idea behind it, why they brought us in. So yeah, we're gonna start with the Ferrari Elettrica, which might be a placeholder name. They didn't want to confirm it, but that's what they're calling it for now. Next year, when the vehicle actually launches, might be a different name. We'll see. But we're gonna start with that. I'm gonna talk about that a little bit. Then we're gonna talk about obviously later on the show the Tesla Standard Range Model 3, Model Y launching. We have the FSD V14 that we want to discuss real quick that launched earlier this week. And then the Chevy Bolt that just relaunched, and a little bit other things to talk about too. And at the end, of course, we're gonna take you guys comments and questions as we usually do. So you can put down in the comment section. It could be about any of these things or any other things in the EV world that you want to take on. But yeah, let's talk about the Ferrari Elettrica. They brought us there and they said that they want to do a three-part unveiling, and this is the first part one. And they wanted to focus on part one on the technology behind the vehicle because it's their first all-electric car, and they're really excited about it. And they didn't rely on suppliers. These days said you can like go to a supplier and buy fully packaged electric
Magma.
powertrain, Magma, where you can even go further and buy the whole car and slap your logo on it, like Honda did with GM, or like there's a lot of options. And honestly, they're not bad options. Like you can get like a very high performance powertrain from so that they could have partnered with Rimac that does a lot of that too,
Yep.
and get a crazy powertrain, and then do a Ferrari tuned chassis on it with their crazy suspension and body control and things like that. And it probably would have been a great car too, but they didn't want to do that. So for people who don't know, in 2021, Ferrari hired a guy called Benedetto Vigna, and he has zero experience in the auto industry. He's a physicist. I think I talked about it last week, but he invented the physics, the technology behind the Wii controller. Then he worked in Silicon Valley for a while. He's a tech guy very much. And they hired him in 2021, and the first thing he did is like, I want Ferrari to do an all-electric vehicle, but I want them to do it with their own expertise, developing everything from the ground up. They build a new campus on their existing campus, an electric one, and they call it the E building, a giant building where they are developing and now producing this new electric vehicle. Well, they haven't started the full production just yet, but I toured the factory, and they have set up the battery pack manufacturing. They have set up the electric motor manufacturing, and they are basically doing everything from the ground up. They are buying cell from SK in South Korea. I even saw the crates there with the battery cell and everything. And then from there, they are building everything else. So the three-part unveiling, the idea behind it is like they wanted the journalists to communicate to people like everything they've been working on, so that they want people understand that Ferrari can make an electric car. And I kind of understand the idea behind it. I would have liked to see the car. I would have liked to have driven the car, obviously. But they have a lot of work to do, obviously, to convince their client base to go electric. So Ferrari people are heads, or they love. Ferrari is known to having pioneered the V12 engine, for Christ's sake. So it's going electric is a big step for them and for the clientele also. Even though the executive there that talked during the presentations, it was like 5 hours of presentation. It was pretty heavy, and they mentioned several times that also they want to expand the user base with that, because they think a lot of people would only buy a Ferrari if it was all electric. And I think that's fair. I don't know how many people, because obviously there's expensive vehicles, but still. All right. So that is Benedito Vigna. And the technical spec. Let's go to the spec, because they unveil, even though they was focused on the technology, they have to give us something at least. And they gave us a look at the chassis here. So that's the actual chassis of the vehicle. And they gave us the spec. You have a 122 kilowatt hour battery pack. That's gross energy capacity. They didn't say any buffer, and they did mention that they have a solution for that they can use most of the capacity. They talking about a range of 530 kilometers, which is 330 miles. Obviously, that's going to be WLTP, with them being based in Europe, so maybe something closer to 300 miles of range, maybe 280, something like that. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, which is 62 miles per hour, is 2.5 seconds, which is pretty good. So you're gonna get like close to 2.3, 2.4, 0 to 60. You have over 1,000 horsepower in there, 830 kilowatts of power, using quad motor powertrain. So you have 2 per axle, 1 per motor, and it's 620 in the back and 210 in the front total. They are doing their own inverter with very high efficiency level at full power. They have an efficiency of 93%, which is pretty good. Everything is very lightweight also, as you would expect. Because here's the thing. A lot of people, like even the journalists, they asked that during the Q&A. They're like, hey, just only 1,000 horsepower. What are you guys doing? Like, they're doing 2,000, 3,000 horsepower now with BYD. It's like, obviously this is, well, two things. They didn't want to make a real like supercar. So this is not a supercar. This is a 4-door. Like I said earlier, we don't know the exact form factor, but we know it's a 4-door. I'm leaning towards sedan, or maybe like some kind of wagon, like the Ferrari Pro Sangue. Like basically doing like a higher end version of Xiaomi YU7, which copy the Pro Sangue, but still. They wanted, so there's going to be a high level of utility with the vehicle, and it's going to be also some kind of, mass market. We're going to say mass market, but mass produced, as much as Ferrari mass produces vehicles. So it's not going to be like some of the limited edition Ferrari at $1 million. It's going to be one that they try to produce like even like thousands a year, even though that's still going to depend on the pricing. They basically said that they're going to make as many as people want to buy, can afford. So I toured the factory here, and they have already the battery pack production in place. They, like I said, they buy the cells. They're NMC pouch cells. They are the long bladed cells that they are make nowadays, and they still call them pouch cells though. And they take that, they make modules. They make 13 modules. They have 15 modules. There's 13 of them that are flat on one level, and then they stack 2 of them on top of the last one in the back. They made it like that, so obviously you can sit underneath the back seat, because there's going to be a 4-seater. But they also do that for the weight distribution. So obviously Ferrari is big on weight distribution for the performance of the vehicle, and that was done in that direction. This is the motor. This is the back motor. So two motors here. So there's a cutout here so that you can see the stator and the rotor. And here they went like all out. They have all the latest on there. They have the carbon wrapping on the rotor. They have like a 0.5 millimeter distance between the stator and the motor, and for that they have to do like a ton of incredible engineering and use the best materials out there. And that's something that they try to emphasize. Like, this is our first all-electric vehicle, but this is not our first electric motor. This is not our first, venture into electric powertrains. Ferrari had to go electric to a certain degree back in 2009 when F1 started making their cars hybrids. So they have a lot of experience there, and then it trickled into their consumer vehicle. Strada and a bunch of other vehicles have hybrid powertrains also. So they could use all the experience for that, and then they felt like they needed the battery technology to catch up a little bit to be able to get the performance they wanted. Um, I think there's some argument that you could have done that sooner. But at the same time, they wanted especially focus on energy density. So they have some of the highest energy density cells to be able to reduce the weight and focus on driving capability, handling, and everything that the Ferrari owner like. So yeah, you have some crazy like 30,000 RPM for the front. That is the front axle, and then 25,500 on the back axle. This is the front axle, and on the front axle, this is a top view, so you have the view of the inverter. They're doing their own inverter, and they have also here a disconnect, so a bit like Rivian, where they can disconnect the front wheel. So that you have a full rear-wheel drive system. They can do that in 0.5 seconds, making it super, super efficient. It's a 800-volt battery, by the way, if I didn't mention that. All right.
This is I would say, from my standpoint, all this seems pretty standard, which is kind of not something that Ferrari typically does. I mean, 800 volts, pretty standard. Hyundais have 800-volt systems. The specs on the motor, like 2.5 seconds, 0 to 60. It's fast, but it's not like super car. I mean, it's not super electric car fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're a couple years.
I had the same view as you do. So they kept using the word unique throughout the whole presentation, and I was always thinking, like, what exactly is unique about this? Because all of these specs, they are impressive, they are top of the line and everything, but they all exist, somewhere in some vehicle. What's really unique about the vehicles, I think, we still have the design that we haven't seen. There's still a lot that we need to know about the vehicle, but it's the packaging, all of this together. And then the last piece of the puzzle is what I'm about to discuss here, which is the suspension system, which is also not unique because it is based on, it's the third generation active electric suspension that Ferrari has. It is in the F80, it is in the Pro Sangue. It exists. It was modified a little bit to work better with the the weight distribution and the lower center of gravity that comes with an electric car. But and it is a super impressive system. Again, not unique. But if you combine, I should mention, with the suspension at the rear, you have also almost 2 point something degrees of steering. So the selling point that they're trying to do here is that combining this is an active electric suspension. So it's not a hydraulic suspension. It's not an air suspension. It is millisecond response through electric power with gears that's enable you to like go up and down. So you can at each wheel independently, and like you can see right now, the steering is also independent on each wheel at the back, top of the front. So what it means is that you have control of the vehicle through 4 motors with torque vectoring. You can think about something like the Rivian quad motor. So you have torque vectoring at each wheels. So you can do, you have independent control of going backward and forward at the wheel. You have the ability to go up and down at each wheel with the active electric suspension, and you have the ability to steer left and right at each wheel. So you can imagine that with all of that combined, and there's a lot you can do with that. Like there's a lot of capabilities. They don't want to elaborate exactly on what, but you can imagine that it gives them a level of control that's unprecedented. They also have only one central control unit for all that can controls all that, so you can simultaneously just respond to anything on the road, basically. And they're gonna use that. They're gonna tune that towards both comfort and also performance. So the vehicle is gonna have a wide range of capability. So the way I think of it a little bit is you have I experienced the only other electric suspension, active electric suspension that I've experienced was the GT, Audi GT.
Hmm.
Did you try the latest Taycan set? Because you're the one that usually does the
Yeah,
Porsche.
it can
Yeah,
hop, and yeah.
so the Taycan, also the latest one, if you go top of the line, like it's almost like a $200,000 car, you get that. Same thing with the GT. In the Taycan and GT, they are geared towards performance, and also they help with comfort, obviously, but they're more geared toward the performance. And I tried the Neo ET9, which are very similar, basically the same suspension system, but geared towards comfort more than anything. And this going to be able to combine both of those with this completely control on all axis, basically. So I think that's pretty unique and that's pretty interesting. Yeah, so in the suspension, you have a good look at the suspension here. The actual coil is interesting because the coil doesn't really do anything, you would think, because everything is happening in there with the gears that goes up and down with the electric system. So this is only here for when the car is turned off, because then the car is turned off, there's no power going to the suspension, so the car would just drop to the ground. So the coil is simply there for like keeping the car up when it's not powered on, basically.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. So there's not like any phantom drain happening. Just look at those brakes; it's massive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it's there was a lot of things that were really interesting. I think with that, because they kept emphasizing that to be a Ferrari you need to have, I think there was 5 specific capabilities, type of capabilities to have what they call driving thrills. So they want to deliver driving thrills to their customers. So one of them is like acceleration, the other is like cornering, one is braking, I think one was sound, and then I'm missing another one. Anyway, but to have all of those and the level of utility they wanted, they made a bit of a chart of like where they wanted that vehicle to be, and they were like, all right, if we made that car an ICE, it won't get us there. So they literally, to make the car that they wanted to make, it had to be electric. So it was really a nice realization for Ferrari. They were like, if we want to make the best car we can make, it has to be electric. So, and oh yeah, the last thing, and I made a separate article about that because I thought it was so interesting, is the sound. How is Ferrari going to manage sound with the Elettrica, or whatever it's going to be called? And this is obviously a big deal because, especially for the existing clientele of Ferrari, they want they they want to have a sound to the vehicle, and it's not going to be a V8, it's not going to be a V12, and that's going to be a V6. So, what sound is it going to make? And the industry has been looking for that for a while. They don't know exactly how to take that. At Electrek, we always been more of a on the side of just take the natural sounds of the electric engine and the electric motor. And Ferrari was leaning towards that because they didn't want to make any fake sounds. So they said, no, we forget the fake sounds like the Daytona Electric, or the BMW that hired like Hans Zimmer to do like some sounds for the vehicles. Like, we don't want that. We want the sound to be real. But then the problem is like the sound was not enough because they wanted also to have like low noise, vibration, everything. So once you do all that, they're like, the sound is stuck within the metal enclosure of the drive unit. So it, if you go at full speed and everything, yes, there's a sound. It comes out a little bit, but the road sounds and tire sounds, they override that basically. So they needed a solution for that because they want to sound. And I want to emphasize here, because I when I posted the article to a lot of people, like, oh, it's so dumb. Like, why you put sound? You just be silent. For Ferrari, they kind of have to, because when you drive a Ferrari, most of the time you want to aim to drive it spiritedly, a little bit aggressively, have a little fun with it, and that's when sound becomes information. So performance drivers will rely on sound for information, whether it's accelerating, decelerating, cornering, or health of the vehicle, or whatever it is. And so they wanted drivers to still have that in performance driving. So what they did was actually pretty smart. So how do you do that and not do a fake sound? So what they did is, like, they put an accelerometer inside the motor They tried to find, like, they tried 50 different spots at first, and then they found the right one to put in there to catch all the vibration of the motor, and then from that vibration, reading the frequencies, they can pull the sounds live at the, undiscernible for the human ear latency into the cabin, so that you can get a real time, authentic feedback from the motor in sound level. Now they didn't let us listen to that sound, but and I would assume that's going to be part two or maybe even part three of the unveiling. But it's pretty cool. It's basically the difference between an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. So with an acoustic guitar, you have like the vibration from the string, and you have the guitar itself, the enclosure, in wood, and the sound hole that amplify the sounds. You don't have that in an electric motor because the enclosure is closed in, just like you don't have that on an electric guitar. So you need an amplifier to amplify the sound, but the sounds are still real. They are based on the vibration of the string on the electric guitar. So you do that, but with the sounds, the vibrations that the electric motors perform, and they have that front and back, so you can like hear the electric motor like disconnecting. If you disconnect it from the front, you can hear the back taking over the front, depending on the scenario. So you can hear all that and have that feedback inside the vehicle. Again, we haven't heard it. We're going to need to hear it to give you our full opinion. But there's two things. Like I do appreciate the approach. I think it makes sense to me, and I was very impressed with the guy that did that presentation for that. It was I'm going to give him credit here. It's Antonio Palermo. Is the head of the noise, vibration, and harness at Ferrari, and the guy was clearly passionate about that. They clearly spent a lot of time on this, a lot of discussion to make this happen, and I have, I'm relatively optimistic that they're going to nail that. And I think that could be a big deal, because I think it's already a big deal that Ferrari's making an electric car. I think it can have some kind of hollow effect to get more people into EVs and get some of the people that are old outs, petrol heads and whatnot. And sound is going to be part of that equation. So if they nail that, I think they're going to get more people on board, and it's going to help EV adoption in general, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Ferrari must be the last holdout. I mean, Mazda left. I think Ferrari's the last automaker that doesn't have an EV at least planned.
Well, Lamborghini said a few times that they were going to do it, and then they never actually did it. So
right, but Lamborghini's like part of Volkswagen or something, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, they were the last holdout, but now they haven't talked about this vehicle a lot. So this is like the first time that they release a lot more information. So, but they've been working on this for like 4 years now. So the project has been in the works, spending a lot of money on it.
Well, if you need somebody to go to the next Italy event, I can cover for you.
Yeah, well, like that's the first thing I asked is like, yeah, now you need to invite us for the next one, because like that's very cool, very impressed. I learned a ton about the vehicle, but there's a lot missing, and they were like, yeah, next year, we'll see next year. So apparently it's Q1 there's going to be the part 2, and then Q2 there's going to be part 3. We're going to get the full vehicle. But the way it sounded like, I don't know if they're going to invite us for Q2, because I think it might be just like pricing information, maybe
some overlap,
launch time and everything. And then part 3 is going to be full design. Speaking of the design set, I didn't know this. We didn't report on this. We missed it. I don't know if 95 Apple reported on this, but Johnny Hive's team is designing the vehicle.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Love From, which is the design studio that Johnny Hive founded after leaving Apple, and it's with Mark Newman or forget the guy's name. So it's two guys. It's Johnny Hive and another Apple, Mark Newson.
Yeah.
So they were basically 1 and 2 at Apple in terms of design. They left and they formed that company. The company is behind the redesign of like Airbnb and a few other company. So I don't know what to think about that, honestly, because I looked up the company and everything, and Hive and Newson are obviously very well accomplished designers, but as far as I can tell, they've never designed a car that went to production. Newson has like one car that he designed with Ford, I think, but it was like ugly as hell. It was a prototype that never actually make it to market.
They did a small car. There's like some like iconic pictures of them sitting in like some small car. I don't know if that was something they designed or not, but maybe that's the one you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you can Google it, like
Yeah.
Mark Newsom car, but it's I can show it actually. It's worth looking at. Uh, but it is yeah, it's this here. Actually, kind of look at as like a car that um, maybe Apple would have
Yeah.
with design, but ugh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Well,
it's gonna look nothing like that. It's gonna be a Ferrari, but
right.
and they know it has to be a Ferrari, so it's gonna be very different, I think, but still. So we still need to see that, and we need to drive the car, but I'm pretty confident that the driving is gonna be incredible. And the other thing they want to tell us, they insisted on it, is like the reason we're not showing you the car right now is not because the car is not ready. It's not because we're late, because there's been a lot of rumors that the unveiling was going to be this month, and now that's what we're getting this month instead. They say that the car is ready, the design is locked, the design is frozen, and it's happening. It's just they want to do that unveiling to focus on their tech first. Fair enough.
Possible.
All right, let's jump into Tesla. So we finally get all the details this week, and we basically knew everything about it ahead of time. But now we get the pricing information, which was the big thing missing, about the new Model 3, Model Y stripped down. But so the little bit of a surprise is like they launched at the same time the Model 3. We knew it was in the work. We talked about it before, but we weren't sure. We knew the Model Y was coming. We wasn't sure if the Model 3 would be at the same time. It is. So Model Y stripped down, basically as we expected. So cloth interior, no light bar in the front, no light bar in the back, no glass roof. Even though there's still a glass roof, it's just there's a headliner in front of it, and it's a different type of glass roof. You cannot see it from the interior, basically. There are, less ambient lighting inside. There is new wheels that don't look too good in these pictures here, but I've seen them in person since, and it looks a little bit better. There's a new battery pack. It's an NMC battery pack. They didn't go with LFP, and they are they just remove basically a module or two from the pack from the long range version. So there's that. The spec in terms of range is 321 miles of range, 125 top speed, and 6.8 seconds. So this is probably one of the slowest Tesla ever that they made with that. But the price is the thing that was most important here, and it is $40,000. It starts at $40,000. So the reaction so far has been pretty disappointed, because obviously the big thing is like this is $2,500 more than now they are called standard and premium. So you have standard Model Y, which is the shorter range real wheel drive. It's not that short of a range, against 221 miles. I think it's 30 miles less than the premium, but the premium is more about the material, like we said, the design and all that. And you have the premium all-wheel drive also, and then the performance one. So the premium rear-wheel drive was cheaper 2 weeks ago when we had access to the federal tax credit in the US than the now standard range rear-wheel drive. Standard rear-wheel drive, because the range is not standard. It's not the small battery pack like they do in Europe and whatnot. So yeah, it's just not a great deal. I think it's not as bad as the Cybertruck rear-wheel drive situation, where they basically reduce the price by $10,000 but remove $20,000 worth of features. Right. I think in this case, it's hard to make an estimate. But one thing I should mention too: no auto steer on this, no autopilot. There's a cruise control, but not auto steer. So you don't have standard auto steer on this.
But you can get full self driving though, right?
Of course, you got
to pay for that.
Yeah, you got to pay a 50 price for that. So I think that's a way to get more people to try to buy it, because that is the most valuable feature of FSD on top of autopilot and FSD. So now if you don't have autopilot standard, you're like more incentivized to get FSD. So that is a big one, obviously. The glass roof is a big one. The fewer sail, the shorter range is a big one, even though it's not that much shorter. I can agree. The design is not as good, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. But the material is inside. There's a lot of downgrades in the inside. Yeah, I see it as about $8,000 worth of features for a $5,000 display. So it's not. It clearly is on purpose. Tesla doesn't want to sell that. It's on purpose, much like the Cybertruck real drive. You can see that with the interest rate that they're charging. They're charging higher, 30% higher interest rates if you're going to finance the standard one versus the premium one. So Tesla clearly doesn't want to sell that. The Model 3 is a bit better deal. It's $37,500, so $2,500 less. And the difference physically, like it looks a lot closer. You don't have the auto steer 2, so I think that's like the biggest difference. But visually on the outside, it looks very similar. So you don't lose the glass roof, which is one of the coolest features of Tesla vehicle. Like that's one of the first things that people haven't been in a Tesla to get in my car, and they're always like, "Oh my god, a great glass roof!" It's a big feature, I think. So you don't lose that, and the cloth seats are just not that bad, honestly. So it's I think the Model 3 standard range is not a bad deal. Military standard, and it's just upstate range, but the Model Y is not a good deal. I don't know about these wheels though. These wheel cover, I should say.
They're not good.
Yeah, it's not.
Maybe multicolor or something. Put some white in there. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we have a new sponsor now that does also wheel replacement. I'm sure they're gonna do them for the new standard range too. So you can personalize them, have a color you want for them. All right. Earlier this week, we also had the almost sentient Tesla full self-driving update. The first update in a year, basically. First major update. There were some very minor one, but Tesla has been extremely focused on robotaxi. So this is being sold to people basically as everything that Tesla learned from the robotaxi all year, packaged into an update for the consumer vehicles. And it is a significant update. So a lot of it has to do with, there's a UI improvement. So now you can just click a button and you get asked, like, at destination, do you want to park, is it going to be a parking lot? Are we going to navigate to a parking lot and find you a spot? Is it you're going to do street parking, or is it just a driveway? You select that. And then after that, the car is going to be able to, literally get you to your destination. So there's not going to be disengagement at the end of the drive, which is, like, for example, with my V12 car, which R3 is what I'm doing every time, even though, like, sometimes I can get a fully driverless ride that I'm fully supervising, obviously. But at the end, the parking situation, I have to take over and, dictate where is the car is going to park, because it's not going to be able to find out. So that is fixed, much like the robotaxi, and the reviews have been pretty good about that. So that's good news there. Speed control, so they improve all the different speed control. I would really like to see that coming to my car, because that is one of the worst thing about my version of full self driving. Even in hurry mode, like sometimes it will drive faster, too fast sometimes, but then too slow other times. Makes no sense. Standard, it always drive too slow. The thing that they did was actually slot, which is below chill now. So I don't know what's that about. I don't know who was asking for that, but apparently you can go slot mode and drive like a grandpa. Yeah, the arrival option I already discussed. Some UI improvement. Brake confirmed. So for the start self-driving button is now default off. When disabled, start full self-driving will not require you to press and release the brake to confirm engagement. So if you remove that, you can literally just click a button and start driving if you have your destination already entered in the navigation system. So they're really bringing in a lot of the feature of robotaxi and making it work. And they also say, obviously, that they increase the performance of the system itself. So I had it in the link to pull over and yielding for emergency vehicle. That's much needed feature.
Much
Added
needed.
navigation. Sorry.
That's a much needed feature.
Yeah, it's basically a very basic feature to have if you're going to be truly self-driving.
Yeah.
Improve inlink and static and dynamic gates. Okay. There was, offsetting for road debris. So I know a couple of Tesla influencers that would have liked to have that update a few weeks ago. But that's a very needed one. But it's an improved. So Tesla was already supposed to handle road debris, but it's not doing it consistently. And improvement in scenarios like unprotected turn, lane changes, things like that. So it's supposed to be like more general improvement. We're going to need basically a few more weeks to get a lot more, driving data in. I checked earlier today. There's in the crowdsourced data set, there's only about 400 miles on it, so we don't have a lot of data around to discuss. But in the next few weeks, I'm going to make a few updates. I would like to be able to try it myself too. I know that a friend of mine is supposed to get is hoping to get it soon, and I'm going to give it a shot. But we'll see. I previously said that I expect a significant improvement in miles per disengagement. On that, I said previously 2 or 3 times. So it should get Tesla between like 800 and 1200 miles between critical disengagement, which is getting a lot better, but still so far off from actually turning these cars on supervised self-driving. You need at the very least 10,000 miles for, and 10,000 miles that would be more for level 3, where you have to have a reasonable time to let the driver know that they need to take control. Reasonable, so it cannot be like
Right.
take control. It needs to be, hey, in the next few seconds, we would like you to take control of the vehicle to be safe. Okay. But if you want like safer than human level, you need like 700,000 miles on it for all aspects. So unless you geofence everything like a robo-taxi system, then you can get like 10,000 miles or something. But it needs to be geofence and everything. So not what Tesla promised, basically.
So is this coming to hardware 3, or is this just hardware 4?
There's no word on hardware 3. Hardware 3 is fully dead, in my opinion. They're not even saying when are they going to do something about hardware 3. It's like I've been saying it for a while, but I think Tesla is just praying that they're gonna be able to. I don't even know if they really are confident, right? They have any level of confidence about hardware 4 at this point, but maybe there's some people within the company that still are delusional enough to think that they're going to deliver unsupervised on hardware 4. But I think that overall Tesla is praying for like next year they can keep the charade going long enough, the little game going long enough until next year when hardware 5 happens, and some modification to the hardware suite, and then they can solve self-driving on this, so that when they finally admit that they need to compensate everyone with hardware 3 and hardware 4, they at least have something to show that they solve the self-driving issue, because otherwise it would probably be the death of the company. Like, I've never been a Tesla doomer saying that Tesla is done, but if Tesla is forced to admit that hardware 4 and 3 are not going to support full self-driving at all, it has to have a solution. Otherwise, no one's going to believe anymore. This is all about belief. And if you lose the belief, it's done. You need the believers. All right, we have a few more news items I want to discuss, and then we can jump into the comments section, so you guys can put your question right now. We already have a lot of people here. Let me go back to that. The back button's still not working for some reason. All right. NHTSA launched another probe into Tesla self-driving. This one is, there's a point, there's the emergency vehicle, there's the reporting of the crashes, there's a bunch of different investigations from NHTSA. They're not going, there's not a lot happening with them, but they keep adding more. They're slow going, let's say like that, but they keep tightening them up. And this one is a lot more specific. It's about 2 scenarios. It's about traffic violations. It's about full self-driving, beta or supervised. They look at both because there was an example in both, and when Tesla was still calling it beta. It's about those vehicle permitting traffic violation. And by itself, that's not necessarily a problem. If you really consider the system level 2, and the driver is responsible, the driver should be able to stop the violation. However, they're looking at what they think is, based on the complaints and the crashes that they've seen, 58 incidents that they have compiled, that they want to investigate if the driver had, if they were paying attention, if they had enough time to react to stop those violation. And those are all violations, by the way, that led to crashes and incidents. At least I think I had the number somewhere here, but it's like there was like 14 fires, 23 people injured, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 14 fires and 23 people injured. So significant situation here. The two specific thing that they're looking into is the vehicle operating with FSD proceeding into an intersection in violation of a red traffic signal. So basically burning a red light. The second one is FSD commending a lane change into an opposing lane of traffic. So going the wrong way on the road, which we've seen both of them. Lately, specifically on my Outward 3 vehicle, V12 again, I had the vehicle often confuse the red light. Like I'm first one on the red light, and then another light on the one of the other direction is going green, and they will detect that and start to go that, and I would stop it ahead of before going, obviously, but sometimes they would start and then stop right away because it detects a green light, but then realize, oh no, there's still a red light in front of me, and then stop. So things like that, but not stopping. So they found a bunch of incidents for those, and their idea is like, all right, did the drivers, were they not paying attention, or they didn't have enough time to stop the error of the FSD system? So they're looking into that. I don't have a lot of hope in them doing anything about it, because every time that they just drop the investigation, or they give Tesla a slap on the hand, so like, for example, when they were learning stops, it was like doing California style. It wasn't actually stopping for stop signs. And then Tesla was like complaining. It's like, well, humans don't stop for stop signs. It's like, yeah, but they should. And they were like, all right, we'll make them stop on the stop line. So they had to do a recall and update FSD to do that. So I think it's probably just going to be something like that. Honestly, I don't have a lot of hope that's going to be anything else than that. And then the last this news is another investigation has been launched. This one is a little bit more serious. I think it's going to probably result to more things. Is Tesla is being has received what did they call it? Enforcement action against Tesla Insurance. So it's the California Department of Insurance that has received so many complaints from Tesla Insurance, and they warned Tesla several times about them and to change their practices, but they haven't done anything about it at Tesla style, and now they are enforcing them, and they could even lose their license to sell insurance in California, and get significant fines. So there's three main allegations that they're making. First, egregious. That's a new word. Egregious. That's egregious delays in responding to policyholder claims in all step of the claims handling process, causing financial harm, out-of-pocket expenses, potential third-party liability, exposures, and distress policyholders. So that's just like regular Tesla service. Tesla, try to talk to someone at Tesla. It is not easy. So, but when you have a policy claims that you make, you need to respond. And Tesla is like not doing that. So they are, and people have complained. So the Department of Insurance in California is taking action. The other one is unreasonable denials and delays in fully paying valid claims to consumer, failure to conduct thorough, fair, and objective investigation of claims, thus denying consumer the insurance benefit they expect. Well, that just sounds like a regular insurer.
Yeah.
That's just specific to Tesla. They just don't want to pay you. And finally, failure to advise policyholders of the rights to have their claims denials reviewed by the department, a major consumer protection in California, to make sure insurers are held accountable by the regulators. Well, that's a problem. So when they do deny your claim, they're supposed to let you know that there's an appeal process basically to the Department of Insurance. And if Tesla is not doing that, then that's a regulation. So yeah, for each of these penalties, they can be 5,000 for each of one. So not just each of the three that I mentioned, but each instances there's up to $5,000 for them, and the deceptive act is $10,000. So based on the hundreds of claims, it can add up to a few $1 million of fines. Tesla has 15 days to respond to these allegations before it goes in front of an administrative law judge. This is a little bit in the hot water with their insurance business. All right, the Chevy Bolt was finally unveiled this week, and there's some good, there's some meh, and there's some what? Because it looks basically the same, like it's very close packaging. As Jamie said, it's the main thing is like you have a new battery pack that fixes the main issue that we were talking about last week when we were talking about the possible launch, is the charge rate, fast charging rate, which was stuck at like 60 kilowatts at the peak of the old Bolt. Now it's 54, not even 60. It's 200 plus kilowatts speed. No?
I think it's 150.
150, sorry. Jimmy was quoting like most other vehicle these days. So now it's 150 kilowatts, 10 to 80% charge in 26 minutes, which is perfectly reasonable. Yeah. Especially for a vehicle of that price range, let's be honest, because the prices, it starts at 29. Is there a full breakdown of the prices? No. Here. So they are starting out early 2026 with the RS trim, which starts at around $32,000. Then you have the LT trim comfort package at $30,000, and later they're going to make the LT trim available at basically $29,000.
And those include destination charges, which is usually like $1,000 or more. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair to mention. But yeah, it's you know, the inside here, it looks like a Bolt.
It's too bad
outside,
GM messed around for what? The last one was 2023. So the last 3 years, they could have been selling Bolts with $7,500 tax credits. And now they just launched it when the tax credit's gone.
Yep.
Timing.
You have these colors here.
The yellow's back.
And it basically looks in between, to me, the Bolt EV and the EUV.
To me, it's more EUV, but yeah. I mean, it's very close. Like the EUV and the EV, I think we're only like 6 inches. I think it's just 6 inches longer.
I don't know if we have the dimensions on this. It's a 65 kilowatt hour battery pack with LFP cells, by the way.
Yeah, so pretty much the exact same size as the previous one. 66 was the last one.
Yeah, it supports vehicle to home, so that's also an upgrade here. Yeah, that's a big deal. Range of 255 miles, which may be conservative, according to what Jamie says, because Jamie was at the launch. So it's a little bit of an upgrade on the EUV. So the EUV was a little bit bigger, a little bit shorter range than the EV. But the DC fast charging is obviously the bigger upgrade. The vehicle to home is a bigger upgrade.
Yeah, especially with the Tesla connector. So NACS.
Yeah, it's a native NACS. That's also true. It has access to supercharger network, also a big deal. Now, the kind of the weird part of this is that, like I said, there's some good things. There's some many things, like the design, for example, has not been upgraded that much. And then there's a what's that deal? They're calling the Bolt EV, or is it just the Bolt now, or is it Bolt EV?
I don't know.
That's a good one. Maybe Jamie. Yeah, it's just the Chevy Bolt now. I think. Jamie might confirm that. I think he's on the chat right now.
Yes.
But the weird thing is they're calling it a limited edition Bolt.
That's really scary.
So, yeah. And they're not elaborating that much on it. But from my understanding, they say it's going to be a high-volume vehicle. So they said it's going to be like competitive with the Equinox, basically. But they say it's going to be a limited time. It's not going to be available for long. So obviously, this could be just a tactic to try to sell them faster. Like, come in, buy them right now. But how long are they going to sell this thing? I think this could be like, especially now that the tax credit is gone. It's harder to get a vehicle under $30,000. That's all electric. It's one of the rare option with that and the Leaf, and then the now there's a new standard Model Y that starts at $40,000. So
if I had to guess, I would say this is a political thing. Like if the $7,500 tax credit came back, I think they would keep it in production.
Maybe. I don't think there's any hope to get it back anytime soon, though. But so we'll see. But at the same time, they say it's going to be high volume. Like it's going to be, they want to sell this thing. They also told Jamie that they are committed to cheaper electric vehicle. So I guess maybe there's something else in the work, and it's going to replace the Bolt after the Bolt was replaced by the Equinox, and then the Bolt came back, and then it's they're hard to follow. Let's just put it like that. It's doesn't make a ton of sense all around.
Yeah, and if you read the comments or forums about this thing, the worst decision GM could have ever made was not having CarPlay. Like that.
Yeah.
There's just so much. There's so many people who are just going to walk away from this thing because it doesn't have CarPlay. And I get it. Like it really sucks not to have the ability to message people using your phone, which it's done since 2017 and had wireless CarPlay, almost 10 years ago. Frustrating. Like GM is not hearing the voices that are saying like just put CarPlay on it, and it's running Android Auto, it's running Android Automotive, which isn't Android Auto. But like, Volvo is running that and they have CarPlay, and like so many other brands are running that software that could have CarPlay. And even GM, like the Cadillac Lyric, for instance, because it was around a long time before they decided we're not doing CarPlay anymore. Even the new Lyrics have CarPlay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to remove it after people actually have it if you want.
Right.
If you want people to stay with the brand, I mean,
it's very easy to have CarPlay. Like they could, the software exists, so it's double frustrating.
Yeah, I feel if you like, I understand, wanting to have your own UI, your own experience inside the vehicle and everything, but if you're not going to offer phone mirroring, if you're not going to offer CarPlay, you better be on top of your game with the UI.
Yeah,
and you cannot say that about most automakers, especially legacy automakers. Lucid this week released their production and delivery numbers for Q3. They produced 3,891 vehicles, and they deliver 4,078 vehicles, which is a significant year-over-year improvement, but they're still quite off of their goal of, I think, 18,000 vehicles they want to do in 2025, and they are at 10,500 vehicle delivered now, so they would need, basically 8,000 vehicle in Q4, or doubling quarter over quarter. The delivery rate, it's not easy, obviously, but they ramp things up quite a bit now with the Gravity. And even though they say that they just produced 3,891 vehicles, that also includes, and that doesn't include 1,000 more vehicles that they produced, but they're going to do the final assembly in Saudi Arabia, where they have another factory. So they produce most of the car in Arizona, shipped it down to Saudi Arabia in the other factory, completed them there, and then distributed in the region from there. A little bit like Tesla was doing that in Europe, back in the day with the Model S. In the Netherlands. So that if that can all happen in Q4, that will help, because 1,000 more vehicles there, and then they need to badly ramp up Gravity production to sell those, and then next year, they have the $20,000 units order from Uber/Nuro for the self-driving vehicle that they're going to convert to Gravity. So they're pretty set for next year, but they just need quite a ramp that needs to happen.
Yep,
steep ramp. All right, lastly, we're going to have an update on Aptera. So Aptera is going public which normally would be like, hey, big step, important, good news. It's not so good news because normally when you go public, you do an IPO, an initial public offering, you raise money for the company, good. You do maybe a SPAC deal, less good, but still normally a SPAC deal comes with like an empty shell company that has cash, and then you merge with that company, and then you can use the cash from that company, however much it is. So there's that. They're not doing that either. They're doing a direct listing. So a direct listing, that means that the existing share of the company are DRS approved on the system, and then you can trade them publicly on the Nasdaq in this case. And what does that mean? So if there's no proceeds going to the company from the share, is just what share are going to be trading is the share from existing shareholders. So it's basically an exit strategy for existing shareholders. That's all it is. So normally that means it goes public at whatever price that the first person decide to sell them at, and someone decide to buy them at, or if someone is willing to share. So it's it's worrying to say the least, because I don't see a scenario from this where things are good for Aptera. Because like, let's start with like the best case scenario. Best case scenario, one, there's public demand outside on the Nasdaq, which is possible, but most of Aptera's capital raise so far has been through crowdfunding anyway. So the public has already had access to Aptera shares to the crowdfunding effort, myself included, by the way. Even though I always was clear that I thought I was likely to lose that money.
Me too.
And that's probably what's going to happen now. So it's going to be for my taxes more than anything else. But so what's happening is that the best case scenario is that there is somehow still demand outside of crowdfunding, even though. By the way, another reason why you go direct listing is that no bank wanted to underwrite for you and go a public offering. So there's not also a lot of momentum on the institutional level. So you need the public retail investors to somehow. I wouldn't have bought shares on the crowdfunding, but I would buy them for whatever reason on the Nasdaq. Okay, there's that to happen, and then you also need all these insiders and crowdfunding shareholders not to sell, or most of them, to create more, to make sure there's more demand than supply. And I don't have a lot of hope in that, because there is no restriction for even insiders to sell, like the CEOs, the co-CEOs and all that. They don't have any restriction. And as far as I know, they haven't come out and said like we won't sell or anything like that. Like, they are not doing that. So it is worrying. But so the best case scenario is that happens. There's public demand. Insiders, for the most part, hold. Then you get a public share price that goes up, and then they use that to do second, well, I guess a first offering, but secondary to the initial listing on the market, raise capital with that, and keep going with that. Because so the information from the S1 filing as of June 2025, they had 13 million in the bank, and they were burning through more of that in a year. So they have less than a year of runway going, and they had about 7 million in liabilities, I think. So it's not completely awful situation, but for someone that's trying to bring a vehicle to market, which is very capital intensive, it's not a good situation. They need more capital to bring this vehicle to market, and it's not going to happen like that. So worst case scenario is, as soon as these shares are listed on the Nasdaq, everyone that's been, not everyone, but a large portion of people that have bought share through crowdfunding and insiders with old shares decide to exit the position, sell, and not enough people are there to buy them, and then the share price crashes, and then there's no one that's really willing to come out and buy and finance the company anymore, and it's either goes under or it's bought out for pennies on the dollars. So that's the worst case scenario. It could be some between also. It could be like not too bad with the share price, and then they manage to do public offering. I don't know, but I cannot stress this enough. I do not have high hope. I invested in the project because I just like the idea of a hyper efficient vehicle, so efficient that you can even put solar on it, and there's some value to it rather than just be like a kind of a gimmick. So I think that's really cool, and I think they did that to a certain degree. They just, it would be a fairly expensive vehicle, and now you have, like, you can buy a Bolt TV for $30,000, or you can
Yeah.
buy that thing for $35,000 or whatever. It's obviously the Bolt TVs is a lot more useful, uh, but I like the idea. I think they could have sold a few. Probably would have bought one any myself, and try to drive super efficiently on sunshine. It's like very cool, and then maybe they could have reduced the price over time. And also, they have some contracts to sell their solar technology to other companies like Tello. Like, I think they have a trailer company they were selling it to also. So there's some value in that, I think. But it's I don't think they have like significant contracts. Like, if they sell like $1 million worth of those next year, I would be impressed. Like, so I wanted to let you guys know about that because this is happening next week. It's getting listed on the 16th. And, the only thing I think that's going to help Aptera is that a lot of people are not able to list their shares right now, myself included. So my shares are on insurance, and I've been reaching out to them. I'm letting them know, like, hey, this is going public next week. I need this in my broker account if I want to be able to exit my position. And I'm not saying that I'm going to exit, but I would like to have the opportunity to, if I think it's warranted. And I cannot even do that right now. I was talking to Jamie earlier too, and he's also having issues getting his share on computer share to his brokered account. So I think a lot of people are in that scenario.
All right, let's get to the comments. Carl in San Diego, FSD 14 prompts new NHTSA investigation. Will the Tesla, or should that read, yes men, board, and investors ever regain sanity?
I don't know if it's V13 that prompt that. Honestly, it's all these crashes happen on prior version of the system, so I don't think it has to do with that. And we already kind of discussed that we don't think that it's is having a great influence on the FSD program at all. So I think that the board is just going to sit on its hands as you always do.
All right, Ferrari has a strong history of using their own powertrain, the Dino V6. I'm not familiar with that. That was also used in a Dino branded model. Was a painful lesson for them about diluting their tech.
Yeah, at one point they tried to go like mass market and it didn't work out. Yeah, I think Ferrari is a lot bigger than I thought. Like, they don't. There's two sides, obviously. There's a motorsport side, and then there's the consumer vehicle side. But they have a giant sprawling campus in Maranello, it's right next to Bologna, and very impressive campus that they have there. And it's a profitable company selling 10,000, 13,000 cars a year, something like that. I think
it's like the 5th largest automobile by market cap or something.
Yeah, by market cap they're huge, so they've been highly profitable. But I checked them. I think they crashed yesterday because they had their market day too right after when I left, and the earnings are down a little bit. They were trading at like 45 times earnings, which is I think is ridiculous for an automaker. So I think the stock should probably go down a bit. And I'm saying it's ridiculous to trade at 45 times earnings for automakers, but Tesla is trading at 200 times earnings. So take that into account. But I think Tesla was most likely would probably crash at some point also, even though I wouldn't bet on it. We had a great comment on Electrek today. The comment section on Electrek, by the way, is very underrated. We have some great comments, some people that comments on the site. And I was writing an article about Steve Heisman, who's he was played by Steve Carell in The Big Short. So he commented on Tesla recently, and he said it was a cult, something we've been saying for a while, because it's all based on beliefs, and you just the stock doesn't make any sense on fundamental. And he also said that he wouldn't short it because his argument was pretty sound. He said, imagine you're in 2022 and you're an analyst at a hedge fund, and you make your analysis and you're like, I think Tesla has gonna peak earnings soon, and then they're going to keep going down in earnings, probably 60% by 2025, and then keep going down from there. So you go to your portfolio manager and you're like, this is what we do. What do we do with that? And then we're going to short it like crazy. And then if you would have done that, you would have lost 50% from 2023 to 2025. So even though you would have been technically right on the fundamentals, because Tesla's earnings from 2023 to 2025 did go down 60%. So it's completely disconnected from fundamentals. That's true. That doesn't mean that a stock's going to go down, so you shouldn't short it, because it is purely based on beliefs. And you can what do you do with beliefs? So a guy on the comment section said, shorting Tesla is like predicting the imminent collapse of Scientology. And I think that's fair. I mean, though technically Scientology has been going down for years too, but they're still racking in millions and millions of dollars every year, and I'm sure that they're doing pretty fine on that front. So Tesla is kind of in a similar situation, I think. Like, as long as people believe the cult leader, stock is going to be fine.
Yep. All right, Dano says, having the suspension settle down when turned off is how the front bumper cover ripped off my Model S when I backed out of a parking spot with the parking block in the parking space. The suspension was down. Yeah, I have a Model S that's been sitting in my house, friend of mine who's overseas, and the battery, like, forgot to charge it. Battery died, 12 volt, and
then
it just
air
went,
suspension went.
Yeah, it's fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
All right, UG, stop defending amplifying noise. That's just ridiculous.
Okay, one thing that I forgot to mention, I think, on the show, and that makes all the difference, is like, it is optional, and it is optional and inside the cabin. So who are you gonna bother? Like, right. let them do it, and if you don't like it, well, one, don't buy it, and if you don't like it, buy it and turn it off. Like, that's it. So let's be like, so a lot of people get upset about something that's like completely optional.
Fiat Electric Arboth also had a fake motor sound, and although it sounded good, it struggles to deal with revs and rowing through the gears. Instead, it's a single speed that just climbs and hangs there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's no gears in an electric vehicle. Or, well, some do. Which one did release one with 2 gears recently?
Porsche has one. I can.
Yeah. Okay. So Ferrari has 1 gear, but they do have shifting paddles, and the shifting paddles basically it also optional. You can just use it normally and have the regular throttle response, but they do mimic different power curbs, and you can shift between them as you drive, and that affects the motor, and the motor, then the feedback. It's a circular feedback loop, so there's never a fake thing happening, but you can basically, through software, control the different torque curve and speed curve, and then the motor is going to react to that, and then the sound's going to get feedback to you. So there's that in there.
Jamie notes that the president of NVH figuring out how to add more noise instead of remove noise, which is the typical job of NVH.
They also did that too, but that's the thing. Like I was saying earlier, they did it also for the motor, where they make sure that the motor sounds are like enclosed in the drive unit, and then when they do that, it's like, all right, this is great. Like, we don't have any sounds that we don't want, but the sounds that we want is not there anymore. So that's the thing. Like, it's a double-edged sword.
All right, Spec Lawyer says, question, do we know if the new stripped Tesla Model 3 and Y can do vehicle to load and vehicle to home, like the refreshed Model Y Performance?
Yeah, we talked about that with the Model Y Performance last week or 2 weeks ago when it was launched in the US. And from our understanding, all Tesla vehicles since the CCS update that have the CCS module are technically capable of using the protocol and doing vehicle to load, vehicle to home, whatever. They can bi-directional. Tesla is detecting when it is being used and stopping it. Like I said, I was able in the 2023 Model Y to pull out 10 kilowatts. It's just after a few seconds, a few minutes, I think 3 minutes or something like that, it shuts down, because it looks like Tesla is like, hey, are we charging or are we discharging right now? It's like, oh, we're discharging. What's happening? And they stopped it down. So they're capable of it. They're just not allowing it, and they are allowing it only in the Cybertruck and the Model Y. So these new models, I'm pretty sure, is the same thing. It's just Tesla is not letting people do it because they are, software blocking the features to sell the more expensive vehicle. That's what Tesla does with a lot of things.
All right. Jamie says Model YP. Question, how would you rank all the new cheaper EVs, new Bolt, new Leaf, Equinox, stripped Model 3 and Y, any others? I mean, there's like a couple others I would note, maybe Fiat 500 or I guess that's not super cheap, but I think I'm Team Bolt always. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say I haven't tried most of those yet. I've tried the Equinox, which I think is pretty good. There's trim, the
Equinox is
higher
good.
trims are more expensive. Are don't they had things that the base version is not that bad. That's what I was gonna say basically, compared to the higher end version. So I think the Equinox is a pretty good option. The Bolt though, obviously, it's so close to um, the old one that we can probably make a judgment. And at $30,000, $29,000, it is interesting. The new Leaf, I've seen it. I haven't driven it yet.
Looks good.
Same thing for Model 3 and Model Y, stripped down version. And like I said earlier, so but just based on the visually and the specs, I think the Model 3 strip 37,500 is not bad at all. If you can get some of the in New York, you still have an incentive on it, like it's
2000.
little one, 2000. Yeah, in California, like it's a few places. Like it's if you can get it out at $35,000, it's not a bad car at that price. I feel like Model Y, I already posted about it, but I don't think you should buy it for $40,000. And if you want to buy a Model Y, just buy the rear-wheel drive premium at 45. I think it's a bit better deal.
Yeah. All right, Mike the Car Geek says brands like Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Aston Martin, right? Desperately need to partner on technology. They don't have the right people to do software and battery EVs, just gas engines.
Well, yeah, I mean, software side, you can say that of a lot of people, like especially like the Germans and the Japanese. They don't have a lot of software, industry there to recruit from and all that. So you can say that about not just those. On the powertrain side, if you invest in there, you can come out with something pretty good, and that's what we're seeing from Ferrari. I think that everything I've seen from Ferrari was like top of the line stuff that you see in supercars and very high end EVs today. They were able to develop that in the last 4 years. I don't think they proved that they don't need to partner. They can partner though. They certainly can. Like Lamborghini, for example, should probably partner with Rimac, since they are kind of by such a weird like situation with Volkswagen Group and Porsche, and then now Porsche and Rimac, or like it's. But I'm sure they can get someone on the phone and have them work with them.
All right, this is kind of a weird question. Since FSD is getting worse, not better, can you order your stripper Model 3 with, I think, standard maybe, with version 12? So saying you would get an older version of the software, I don't think that's true.
No, the stripped down Model 3, Model Y, I don't have standard autopilot. You have to buy FSD, but if you get FSD, I think you're going to get V14 on it.
Right, and the hardware is going to be.
But is he saying that he thinks that FSD is getting worse? Because I think it's pretty clear that V13 is better than V12. V14 is still up for debate. They have definitely more features in them. Is the performance, the reliability over time better than V13? We simply don't know that yet. All the Tesla influencers that got them say yes, but I always want to see data. And the crowdsourced data, I think last time I checked, was at 400 miles, so we're still we need a few thousand at the very least.
This is interesting. Short version 1 says, glad I caught you guys live. Powerwall 2, date range from Australian recall, were all replaced with Powerwall 3 by Tesla at no charge under warranty in Colorado.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that. I have a source that I know it's very good, but I would need a second source on a few things to. I think Tesla is not handling the situation very well right now. I would like to have more information. If you can reach out to me actually about that, and I can confirm that that's true about Colorado, because I know it's happening other places also. You can reach out at Fred@Electrek.co. I'm working on something with that, but if, in my opinion, Tesla has been kind of hiding this situation in the US. There should be a recall, and there's no official recall in the US or elsewhere other than Australia right now, even though it's the same technology.
All right, Dano says, has Elon said anything lately about upgrading hardware 3 FSD? We talked about this. I haven't been listening to him lately. Nope.
January, he announced that won't be capable of unsupervised self-driving. No significant update since. No update from Elon about what they're going to do about it, and no significant update to the software either.
All right, Jamie notes that this the new Bolt is the same dimensions as the
No.
EUV.
But I felt like I was just saying like in between, but I felt like design a little bit in between too.
I'm not sure if they're saying EEV or EUV, just Bolt. Yep.
Yeah, so
There's
we
also
saw Bolt in the thing.
Yeah, there's also a 2-year agreement with Cattle for LFP, so I think we can expect it to last at least that long. So 2 years, that gets us right up to election time, I think.
Yeah, but maybe the deal is for also other programs, like the battery pack could the battery cells could be used in other programs.
That's true. CarPlay thing is people would have asked for a faster horse situation, but he's a CarPlay hater and all phone projection UIs, despite being an Apple guy forever. I have to say, like, so I drive a Bolt EV, a Tesla, and a Rivian. Like the family has 3 cars. It is very frustrating that I can communicate better in the Bolt using CarPlay with people with using text message, voice to text, than I can in superior cars like the Rivian and the Tesla are superior software. I think everybody agrees with that, but it's frustrating because CarPlay does,
especially for that specific use case.
Yeah. So, and that's something I do a lot, and it's really frustrating that that we don't have that yet. All right, Jess 7 says, saw my first Lucid Gravity in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Awesome car, cool. Maybe the limited edition Bolt is the first couple of years with the imported Cattle batteries, and the permanent edition will be LG LFP batteries made in the USA.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but then why say that? Then I guess to sell more of them. But it is strange to launch a vehicle and then this is an unlimited vehicle. We're just gonna do that for a while and maybe we'll see. Like, it's like what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that has everything to do with the $7,500 tax credit. I mean,
the timing is weird on that too.
Yeah, announced, like, it's not like there was no interest in it. It was, Anyway. Do you think GM could pass Tesla in EV sales in a few years if Tesla keeps de-emphasizing EVs and instead focuses on autonomy and robots?
I mean, yes. In a few years, no.
They're going
they
in
would
this
need to
direction,
ramp
but
this up.
Tesla's way up here and GM's kind of down here.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about US, like Tesla is stable right now in the US. Like they went up a little bit in Q3, obviously, but I think they're gonna go down a little bit in Q4. I think gonna be like relatively stable going forward. Like I said, I think 10% boost in deliveries max with these standard range ones, so maybe it's gonna be a bigger percentage of the mix, but some of that percentage is gonna come cannibalizing the rest of the lineup. So it's a very like a small boost of sales. And I think I mean that globally, I think probably most of it's going to come from China, going to come from other places. So yeah, I think, and GM is obviously on a different trajectory. The Bolt EV, for example, how much are they going to make? Many they say it's going to be a high volume program. They even, I think in the email they sent Jamie, they said they referenced the Equinox, like it's going to be like similar to the Equinox. So the Equinox is like third after the Model 3, and it's there's no close fourth. So if they keep ramping that up, and then if the Bolt EV adds up, like you're getting closer and closer, and then you have all the Cadillacs that are doing well. You have the GMC. So I think there's room. GM has a lot more room to increase than Tesla. Would take probably 4 years, maybe 5 years to make it happen. Probably towards the end of the decade, I wouldn't be surprised if they're close.
All right. Specular, I probably agree with Seth, Team Bolt, but the new Nissan Leaf looks interesting. Need to learn more. I want to see more about the Leaf. I think they did a good job with the design for sure. While replacing all Powerwall 2 batteries is going to be expensive.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually doing the replacements in homes is going to be very expensive. Powerwall recall safety related or just failures. I don't know if you want to.
Safety related. In Australia, they mentioned fire risk, and apparently there's been like a half a dozen fires related to it, and there's been some fires in the U.S. too. So I have a source that is very good source, like, but in the identified that problem back in 2023 with the Powerwall 2, and some of the fires were in the U.S.
All right. Have you seen the Dacia Hipster announcement? 800 kilogram heavy city EV, 100 miles range, 12,000 converted from euros.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's it kind of looks like a Scion or what that Toyota brand.
I don't know that, but I've seen it. The interior looks weird.
Yeah, it's
Like
kind of awful.
very, very weird. You guys should check that out. It's a strange looking car inside.
All right, short version. I have a solar roof direct from Tesla, so that helped. Had a weird error, then auto service with little info. I'll email
That's
Fred.
what I've heard. Okay, he's gonna send me an email. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard that like Tesla says that it's like a failure, and then they replace it. So they're doing kind of a sneaky recall going
Right.
on. So it's not cool. You should, like, if there's a fire risk, you should tell people and you
Yeah.
should fix it. You don't do like, oh, there's a problem, the system will just replace it.
All right, Jamie expands. GM said Bolt and Equinox will make up a majority of our EV sales and said that the two would be their high volume offerings, but didn't specify which will sell more or how much they expect to sell.
Yeah, so GM's going to have a canalization issue too, a little bit like we discussed with Tesla. Like that, the Bolt is a little bit smaller, but still, it's some people that were going to go Equinox going to go with the Bolt, I think. So they said Bolt and EV will make the majority of our EV sales. So that that doesn't mean the Bolt could still be half of the Equinox, and it would still be their second biggest program at GM, I think.
Yeah, the Equinox is kind of the sweet spot there.
Mm-hmm.
The price and a little bit bigger.
For North America, yeah.
Yeah. All right, last one is in Norway, 2.8 million cars on the roads, 170,000 are Tesla.
Yeah. Norway loves their electric cars, and Tesla makes good electric cars. Makes sense. All right. Well, that's it for us this week. On hour 20, we went a little bit long. Thank you for everyone that stuck with us this long. We appreciate you. If you do appreciate the show, we would appreciate if you did a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, whatever it is on the app you're watching. It helps with the algorithm and whatnot. It's free to do, takes a seconds, and it helps the show grow. So we appreciate when you do it. But if you just want to listen to, we're fine with that too, and we appreciate you nonetheless. All right. We're going to see you same time, same place next week. Have a fun weekend. Stay safe out there. Bye-bye.